I believe ever since COVID until now, with the ECs aside, we've never seen developments being bidded for, okay? Hello everyone, welcome. It's been a while since we did our last live. I believe it was at least a year and a half ago. I'm having another go at it, primarily because I do this session every week. More or less, I try to do it every week with my associates to kind of share with them my take on some of the latest news in the market right now. And we have then tried to kind of repurpose those content for the audience. Then it got me thinking like, wow, that's a lot of double work. So which is why I kind of like decided, why not I just do this live for the benefit of everyone, right? Agents, consumers, everybody can watch in together. Come, let's get started. So the very first piece of news I want to talk about, it's the Bayshore GLS, which was mentioned in our title, which was mentioned in the thumbnail. Okay, come, let's break that down by first talking about the article. And maybe as we begin, perhaps I can share with everyone the one thing that I kind of disagree with in this article, okay? And it's this part. Okay, there may also be some pent-up demand for new private housing, including from HDB upgraders in the nearby Marine Parade and Bedok estates, since there have not been any significant private condominium launches in the immediate Bayshore area for decades. Here's what I think, okay? Number one, Marine Parade HDBs, very, very little, and most of them are actually very, very old. Most of the buyers over there, they've been there for quite a while and they might be a little bit on the older side, retirees, all right, so to speak. The actual upgrader numbers from those HDBs, personally, I don't think I've ever met any upgraders looking to upgrade from those HDBs. Yeah, so I think those numbers are very, very little. But though, okay, in recent years, we have had a little bit more HDBs coming up, but I think maybe the Fengshan ones are hitting their MOP soon, but those beside the Bedok MRT, they have not hit their MOP yet. Fengshan, Chai Chi there, maybe, right? But the rest of the HDBs in Bedok are actually also very, very old. Maybe just the ones that we've sold one recently, right? 200 series right beside the MRT, they have some of them. But the real demand for the area, so, right, maybe I can first start off with like why is it so sought after? 8 developers coming in to bid, right? Maybe I share a little bit about the organic demand in the area. Personally, the Bayshore area, right, it is not the first pit stop for buyers that wish to upgrade into that particular area, okay? The truth is District 16, right? Of course, unless you're looking for school, right? Temasek Primary School, or you're looking at Red Swastika, most of the people, when they think about moving to the East Coast stretch, right, they tend to want to start off first with closer to Parkway Parade. Yeah, the Amber side, maybe the Siglap side, right? Those are the District 15. And a lot of the times, it is the fact that they cannot find anything there, or the prices over there are perhaps a little bit on the higher side, that they then decide to expand their options and trickle into the District 16. Kind of explain a little bit, because we've done plenty of deals, served plenty of sellers, buyers alike within the District 15 and District 16 area. Not to say that District 16 is not good. Personally, I feel it's great. Actually, if you really go and analyze it, right, in District 15, they are already a very established area, strong organic demand, old wealth, lots of things. The one thing that perhaps is somewhat lacking around there is transformation, okay? The transformation that was supposed to come has already been materialized, which is the MRT stations, hence prices going up significantly over there, right? District 16 now is the next one that's going to undergo plenty of transformation, right? As you look over here, I think the main draw into this area right now is the whole transformation that is going to happen over at the Bayshore area. As a matter of fact, this particular plot, it may seem expensive right now, but it will look really cheap before then if you think about the next plot that will potentially come up. And this is something that actually a lot of people may not know. So maybe I could take the opportunity to share with you guys. Let me pull out the master plan view right here. This was the plot in question, I believe, right? The one that was just bought. If you move your way up the MRT stations, this is the real juicy one. This is the real juicy one, because for those of you who know, this light blue color indicates an integrated development. Yeah, we have this over here, commercial and residential. Okay, not to be confused with residential with commercial at first story. Yeah, residential with commercial at first story is what you get at even Lentor Modern. It's residential with commercial at first story. Even the upcoming Marina, One Marina Gardens, right? OMG, it's residential with commercial at first story. The one that we truly consider an integrated developments are the light blue colors. And I mean, quite expectedly, the government is putting in a shopping mall in actual fact, right? Because the residential with commercial at first story, they tend to be just shops and whatnot. Can still be done pretty nicely, like your Atra, that kind, right? But this is going to be a full-blown shopping mall linked to the MRT station. Okay, it's good that they are putting this in, because if you really zoom out now, this whole area in the Tanah Merah area right now, right, they are not exactly being served by a lot of shopping mall, right? Everybody is now congregating in Bedok Mall. Yeah, and then if you go further up, of course, you have the Changi City Point over here, and you have East Point, which is not the most popular mall. I mean, there's people over there, but it's not the best mall, right? So they, with them bringing in so many residential units over here and already have a lot of residential, this is basically all residential, right? It's about time they put in a new shopping mall over here. And this plot is gonna be crazy expensive. Yeah, super duper sought after. Okay, which can then kind of makes the recent launch over at Bagnall House really a good value for money, right? That's freehold link to the MRT, right? But that's besides the point for this one. Okay, so this is the real plum plot coming up, right? Smart from the government's perspective to launch one here, right? Set the price there, and then this one, they have to fetch a much higher price. Okay, so that's that. The next point that I want to share about, it's 8 developers bidding for this plot. Okay, so yes, right, most of the news is centered around the pricing, it being 1388 PSF for the OCR. Later on, I will talk about what has caused this phenomenon, what this will say about the market moving forward. But immediately, what's the first thing that kind of excites me? Yeah, for lack of better word, yeah, probably excites me, right? It's the 8 developers coming into to bid. It's the last time that we've seen this kind of number of developers coming in to bid for a plot. Okay, was One Marina Gardens with 6. Okay, other than that, right, I believe ever since COVID until now, with the ECs aside, we've never seen 8 developments being bidded for. Okay, and especially after onset of GFA harmonization. Yeah, usually we trend between 2 to 3 to 4 at most developers bidding for a particular plot. Now, what does this mean, right? Interest rates have come down. Yeah, interest rates have come down. Yes, construction cost is probably still on the high side, but one of the big chunk of cost from the developer is interest cost, because they all take leverage. At the end of the day, it's all a leverage play. It's all a leverage play, right? So with interest costs coming down, they can take more risk. And also, right, where I see is that right after the GFA harmonization rules came out, the developers were a little bit concerned. I was like, and how do you really make money out of it, right? Because right now, then I have to sell my 3-bedders at 800 plus square feet. I have to shrink the sizes down. Can the market accept? And the market have readily accepted it, as we can all see. It's a later article that I'll talk about, right? The market has readily accepted it, snapping things up 80-90% soon. So now the developers are bullish again, and they are coming back down into the market. Now, does this necessarily mean the market is going to take an uptick? There's no direct correlation. Of course, if you take the data from the past, that tends to mean the market is going to come back with a vengeance, right? Because the last time we see a big surge in developers coming in was the 2017 period. Yeah, the developers all came in, all the en blocs coming in, and then we had this potential oversupply. The government had to come in to do cooling measures. Okay, so that's where we are at, right? It's a good thing that the developers are now more aggressive, have come into the market, but that also means the market is based on past data. potentially going to pick up. So now that's that, okay? Breaking down the article in detail, okay? Likely going to generate 500 units by SingHaiyi. Yeah, very, very close in terms of bidding. I think they won out by just 0.8%, meaning beating CDL. Okay, CDL sold Ori pretty well, so I think they have plenty of land bank. SingHaiyi, I think they've basically sold most of their land banks already, so that's why they're a bit more aggressive in coming in. Okay, the level of participation from developers is the highest at a GLS tender for private housing since January 2022, right? When a land parcel in Jalan Tembusu fetched 8 bids, I believe that was Tembusu Grand. Yeah. EOK, Emerald of Katong by Sim Lian, they only had like 2 or 3 bids only. Yeah. Moreover, 1388 PSF per plot ratio will be the highest land price for a 99-year leasehold private housing site in the suburbs, or the OCR. Okay, so if you read onwards, the previous benchmark was set by Alta just in November, right? Yeah, in November 2023. So we are about a year's out, and this is not a minor bump. This is 130 PSF bump. It's more than a 10% bump from Alta's price. Okay, this is also very interesting, right? In fact, the top bid for Bayshore plot at Thursday's tender even exceeded some of that in the RCR and OCR. Yeah, Zion Road, right? 1202 and 1304. Okay, then we have Holland Drive and River Valley Green 1285 and 1328. In similar vein, this shows blurring distinction between the different market segments and reflects more on the individual characteristics of the sites, developers' keenness to pay for more superior attributes. Right? We talk about the proximity to MRT, schools, and whatnot. And I mentioned that this part I disagree about. Yep. So here, right, jumping on over to here, they expected it to come out at 2007, 2800 PSF. Why did I put 3000 PSF in the thumbnail is because I believe that the higher floor sea-facing units, I'm pretty sure we are going to hit 3000 PSF. Pretty sure. Okay, I mean, we've already seen close to 3000 PSF being fetched over at Alta, over at Ori. This one will likely come out 1 year from now. Okay, and this 2 years, yeah, we're going to have very low TOP numbers for the private market. Yeah, and that's going to drive up a lot of demand into the new launch market, because the market is kind of lacking in terms of alternatives and options. People are going to snap it up, especially the sea-facing units. You could also see the fact that seaside residences, there is a couple of MRT stops down. The resale PSF have already fetched very, very high. And on top of that, there's very, very low supply in seaside residences. I mean, maybe since we are on here, I could share some of that as well. See, so we have 1 bidders at 2002, but if we go and look at the 3 bidders, this is part of the phenomenon whereby the larger units, the PSF is higher. Once you see sea-facing, 2,700 PSF. Of course, this is asking, right? Nego a bit, yeah, I think we likely still land on 2,700 PSF. You see the article, they put 2007 to 2008. I think they are being probably a little bit conservative. So if you see, my bet, right? 1 year from now, it should likely average into probably 2.9. Yeah, with the top floor units definitely, higher floor units with the sea view definitely crossing 3000 PSF. So some of you may say, like, why am I so confident when I pluck numbers like that? Because we have a lot of data behind, right? And I'm going to share some of this later on in the video, tagged to some of the other articles, right? This is the first of the 3 articles that I'm going to talk about today. But this phenomenon that we see, right, coming back to this point, which is perhaps the most interesting point over here, right? That this particular plot, the price is higher than the CCR and some of the RCR units. What does that tell you? Okay, what's my take on all of this? Perhaps maybe first I can explain the reason, right? And I'm going to go through in this. This is kind of like something new that I've pieced together in my head. It took me a bit of time to piece everything together. I've put it into a video, right, about my new predictions about the CCR, right? So do like and subscribe, check out that video. Should likely come out early part of next week, right? That should form, that kind of gives you guys some of the wrap up what's in my head, right? So what are some of the problems that I notice in the market and what are the likely the predictions I have for the CCR? I mean, since we are on this article, I can give you a very quick summary. So the first problem, lack of supply in the resale market, right? So if you go into Park Esta, Jadescape, Park Clementi, is 4,000 units, okay? If you try to find a 3-bedder above 1,000 square feet, you can make a guess how many of that are currently for sale. Yeah, you can try to make a guess, okay? But the answer is 7, okay? 4,000 units, 1,000 3-bedders, about 7 units currently for sale. Yeah, so there's undersupply in all these very popular resale condos, right? Then comes to the second problem that I kind of noticed, which is everybody is starting to think of property purchases the same way. Okay, so of course, you start off first with the owner-occupiers, right? The owner-occupiers, they want to be near the MRT, they have to be near the schools, they have to buy, yeah? And so they are willing to pay the price in the resale market, right? It's the whole theory that in the resale market, you sell to the people that kind of needs the house immediately, they kind of needs the place, hence they're willing to pay you a premium, they make that profits from their HDB, whatnot, the ECs, HDBs, their previous condo, whatnot, right? Then they're paying you the profits to enjoy the house immediately. So, and then the narrative has now been built that you generally want to sell to owner-occupiers, right? Something that we ourselves have preached on the channel. The problem that has caused is that with everybody thinking the same way, owner-occupier also want to buy those units. Investors also want to buy those units because they want to sell to the owner-occupiers and make a huge profit next time. Now everybody is rushing into this place with low supply, hence driving the prices of those resale units up. And now this article, this land sale over here is also an indication that we have owner-occupiers wanting to buy. Then we even have investors wanting to buy. So now this is the market. So now the developers know that this market is very, very strong. Everybody thinks the same way. So now all these developers also all chong and go and buy the same supply, the same characteristics, which is your RCR, OCR, near good school, and near MRT. Hence, we see prices like that. Okay, so now kind of what explains this particular phenomenon. If not, you'll be like, what is happening? Why is it so? Okay, then why we have some of the CCR launches, CCR plots with like 1-2 bidders only, right? Because if you understand, right, the developers, whenever they buy a plot, they are taking in 500 units to 1,000 units in terms of inventory. If they don't have the kind of conviction to move those units, they won't be so aggressive one. They won't be so aggressive. So by the fact that 8 developers willing to bid and they bid so aggressively means they know that there's definitely a market for it. Yeah, this whole narrative that everybody is thinking the same way. Now, if you are somebody who's sharp, this one I talk about it in my video again, right, coming out next week. If you're somebody who's sharp, if somebody likes to think differently, think out of the box, then you might be thinking that, so then what are the opportunities this brings? What are some of the opportunities this brings? Because, right, number one, it's not to say that the Bayshore plot will not make money. It's not to say that if you go into all these Park Esta, seaside residences, Jadescape, all those, you will not make money, right? Because there will still be people that have to buy from you and they will be paying those prices for you. Now, is to understand this thing that I've been talking about, and I probably we'll talk about it a lot more often this year, is to recognize that demand is not homogeneous across the market. There is different kinds of demand, right? We have our families, we have our downgraders, right? Our empty nesters, right? We have our dings, right? Dual income, no kids with a dog, right? Dings wet with a dog, right? We have our singles, right? Later on in another article, I talk about the rising percentage of singles. So they don't all necessarily have to buy in the same areas, OCR, RCR, near good school, near MRT. So today, right, last time, OCR, the options available there, they tend to be very big, either that or they are boutique developments. And then, so as a product, it didn't really quite fit the demand. Number two, then the data also not good, right? Lose money, everybody, then nobody kind of really dares to go inside. So it's like the double whammy over there that kind of push people away. But now that prices have been brought to similar, if not now OCR even higher, based solely on that price, it would definitely force the segment of the market, the demand segment of the market that doesn't require to pay these kind of prices in the RCR and OCR to open up their options and to explore their options elsewhere, right? Just put yourself in the shoes of, right? If you have a family, you like the area, so, right, that's fine as well. But let's say you are dual income, no kids, okay? And then you look at here, next time they launch 3,000 PSF. And then you look at River Valley, for example, beside Great World City, and you can get it maybe at 2.9, or let's just say the same, right? Would that kind of interest you? Okay, PSF aside, now the sizes are also becoming very similar. Last time is OCR, RCR, the first ones to do our, let's say, 900 square feet tree compact. Today, our River Valley also going to come out 900 plus square feet. The developers are not silly, right? They know last time they built too big, cannot sell. So now they build very compact sizes. If you look at One Marina Gardens, the kind of sizes are almost a photocopy of whatever they have done in the RCR and the OCR. So these are the sizes that the market can accept. And with this kind of sizes, this kind of PSF becomes the top line price, the quantum entry price, right? Almost the same. It will force people to kind of explore their options and think, do I really need this, or can I go over there? Now, that's the first mover kind of thinking, right? Once you think like that, and once more people start to think like that, the data will then come in to back up those points. And once the data comes in, because this reminds me of what happened in 2017, 2018. Last time, 2017, 2018, nobody dared to buy our Park Esta, Jetscape, Park Clementi's. So many complaints. Too big, nobody will buy. So expensive, right? Because at that point in time, that batch was one of the first few batches right out of the 2013, 2017 lull of the market. No good data points one. All last time, all the properties lose money one, right? But the first people that dare to go in, think out of the box, truly understand the market demand kind of thing, they went in, right? I was fortunate enough to have understood the market at that point in time, went in, make good profits and move on. This is kind of similar, same, but not the same thing that I kind of foresee gonna happen in the CCR. Solely because the gap is so narrow, the CCR's product is evolving to meet mass market demand. I feel they're bound to be the demand going in, right? Demand was separate. It's not, I mean, the upgraders, those that need schools and MRT, they won't buy. But you're talking about your dings, your singles, potentially retirees, potentially people buying their second property. Those will start to take up some of these opportunities, yeah? And then that will kind of then drive the prices up there as well. Then it creates this self-reinforcing cycle of good data, good products, and then those will start to move. Okay, and then potentially next time you will re-establish that premium over the market. I don't know. That's what I think. Okay, so with that, I kind of sum up this particular article. Yeah, potentially maybe I say 1 year in advance how many percent sold now, because based on the fact that I believe next year in the RCR, OCR, the supply will be very, very low. I don't, other than in District 15, District 16, after this batch finish up, we have maybe Arena East over at Tanjong Rhu side. I don't think there's any more supply coming in already. So I do think this one, by the time even, depends on how aggressive they want to be, right? I think SingHaiyi is quite fair. They may, yeah, if they launch 27, 28, likely 70, 60, 70% sold if no cooling measures come in. I'm going to put it right here, 1 year in advance. So 1 year later, if that launch happens, I come back, I quote this prediction, then I will look really smart. But if I get it wrong, then I won't come back. If you all watch and you all remember, then you all can say, Alvin got it wrong.